The ship was burning when Park found it. He had been on a simple mission: pick up medical supplies from Station 12, deliver them to the refugee camp on Myra 6, go home, sleep, do it all again tomorrow. That was the life of a relief officer. Simple, predictable, sometimes boring. But the distress signal had changed everything. It came through his ship's communication system like a scream, loud, desperate, then silent. The signal lasted only 4 seconds before it died. Most pilots would have ignored it. Distress signals in the outer rim were often traps. Raiders used them to lure cargo ships into ambushes. Smart pilots kept flying. Smart pilots stayed alive. Was not always a smart pilot. He changed course and followed the signal to a small moon with no name, just a number. The colony ship was crashed on the surface, broken into 3 pieces like a toy that a child had thrown against a wall. Smoke rose from the wreckage. Fire still burned in some sections. The attack had happened recently, maybe an hour ago, maybe less. He landed his ship 100 meters away from the crash site. The air outside was thin but breathable, cold. His boots crunched on gray dust as he walked toward the wreckage. He carried a scanner in one hand and a pistol in the other. He did not expect to find survivors. He hoped he would not find the ones who had done this. The first body he found was a male, tall, lean, silver fur now dark with blood. His eyes were still open, staring at the empty sky, closed them gently and moved on. They were a peaceful species. They looked like the cats from old Earth, but they walked on 2 legs and stood as tall as humans. Their fur came in shades of silver, gold, and white. Their eyes were large and bright, usually amber or green. They were known for their art, their music, their poetry. They were not known for fighting. That was why they died so easily when the raiders came. Found more bodies as he walked through the wreckage, mothers holding their children, elders who had tried to run, young ones who had tried to hide. The raiders had shown no mercy. They never did. They took what they wanted and killed everyone else. Cargo was valuable. Witnesses were not. His scanner beeped. Stopped, he looked at the small screen. A life sign, faint, weak, but present. Someone was still alive. He followed the signal to what remained of the cargo bay. The ceiling had collapsed. Metal beams lay everywhere like fallen trees. He climbed over them carefully, following the beeping sound. It grew stronger, closer. He pushed aside a broken crate, then another. And there she was. A cub. She was wedged between 2 metal beams, curled into a ball so small that almost missed her. Her fur was silver blue, covered in ash and dust. She was clutching something against her chest. A blanket, old and torn and dirty, but she held it like it was the most precious thing in the universe. Her eyes opened, amber huge, filled with terror. Froze, he did not want to scare her more than she already was. He slowly put his pistol back in its holster. Then he removed his helmet so she could see his face. Humans looked strange to most alien species. Flat faces, small ears, soft skin. But he hoped that seeing his eyes would help. Eyes were universal. Eyes could show kindness. "Hey there," he said softly. "I am not going to hurt you." The cub hissed. It was a weak sound, more fear than threat. She pressed herself further back against the metal as if she could disappear into it. Her small claws gripped the blanket. "It is okay," said. He did not move closer. "I am here to help. I heard your ship's distress signal. I came to find survivors." The cub stared at him. She did not trust him. Why would she? She had just watched her entire colony die. Every adult she knew, every friend, gone. And now a strange alien was crouching in front of her, making sounds she might not even understand. Sat down on the ground. He made himself small, less threatening. "I know you are scared," he said. "I would be scared too, but you cannot stay here. This place is not safe. More bad people might come, and you are hurt. I can see it. You need medicine, food, water. I have all of those things on my ship." The cub's ears moved slightly. She was listening, understanding. "I am going to reach out my hand," said slowly. You do not have to take it, but if you want to, you can. I will take you somewhere safe. I promise." He extended his hand, palm up, open, not grabbing, just offering. The cub looked at his hand, then at his face, then at the destruction around them, the fires, the smoke, the bodies she had probably seen when she crawled into this hiding spot. She looked at all of it, and something in her eyes changed. Not trust, not yet, but something close to acceptance. The understanding that she had no other choice. She reached out and put her small paw in his hand. Her fur was soft, her paw was cold. She was shaking so hard that could feel it in his bones. He lifted her gently. She weighed almost nothing. She was small even for a cub, maybe 5 or 6 years old by human counting, maybe younger. It was hard to tell with children. They grew differently than human children did. She did not let go of the blanket. Carried her back to his ship. She did not speak. She did not cry. She just stared at everything with those huge amber eyes as if she was trying to memorize it all. The burning wreckage, the gray moon, the black sky above, the last place she had ever called home. He brought her into this medical bay and set her down on the examination table. She flinched when the ship's lights turned on. Bright lights probably meant bad things to her now. Explosions, fire, death. Said to the ship's computer, "Dim the lights to 30% and run a medical scan on our guest." The lights softened. A gentle blue beam moved over the cub's body. "Scan complete," said. The computer's voice was calm and warm, had programmed it that way years ago. "The patient has minor cuts and bruises, mild dehydration, early signs of shock, no internal injuries detected, species identified as estimated age, 6 standard solar cycles, name according to recovered colony manifest, Lyra, no family designation found." No family designation. That meant she had been alone even before the attack. An orphan, a ward of the colony, nobody's child. And now nobody would come looking for her. Looked at the cub, Lyra. She had stopped shaking. The warm air of the ship was helping, but her eyes were still empty, still far away. She was here, but she was also back on that moon, watching her world burn. He should take her to a processing station. That was the protocol. Survivors went to stations. Stations sorted them out, found them homes. That was how the system worked. But knew how the system really worked. He had seen the stations. Overcrowded, underfunded, cruel. Alien orphans were the lowest priority. They were sent to facilities that were more like prisons than homes. Some were sold to wealthy families as servants. Some disappeared entirely. He looked at Lyra. She was still holding that blanket. "You are safe now," he said quietly. "I will figure out the rest later." She did not respond. She just closed her eyes and finally fell asleep. Sat beside her and watched the stars through the medical bay window. He had no idea what he was going to do. He only knew one thing for certain. He was not going to let this child become another number in a broken system. Not her. Not ever. 3 months passed aboard the. Lyra did not speak. Not one word. Not one sound beyond the occasional hiss when something startled her or the soft whimper when nightmares pulled her from sleep. She communicated through silence, through the position of her ears, through the way her tail curled around her legs when she was nervous, through the corners she pressed herself into when the ship's engines made unfamiliar noises. Learned to read her body like a language. Ears flat meant fear. Ears forward meant curiosity. Tail wrapped tight meant she wanted to disappear. Tail relaxed meant she was okay, just okay, never happy, never comfortable, but okay. He gave her the small storage room next to the medical bay. He cleaned it out, put a mattress on the floor, hung soft lights on the walls. He found blankets that were similar in texture to the one she carried everywhere. She did not thank him. She did not acknowledge the effort. She just moved into the room and made it her den. That was fine, did not need thanks. He just needed her to feel safe. His sister called every week. Park was on Ganymede, one of Jupiter's moons. She studied alien life forms for the Terran Science Council. She was practical, logical, and she did not approve of what her brother was doing. "You cannot just keep an alien child," she said during one of their calls. Her face filled the communication screen, sharp and serious. "There are laws, adoption protocols, background checks. You have to go through proper channels." "The proper channels would send her to a processing station," replied. He was cooking dinner while they talked, rice and vegetables from the ship's small garden, simple food but warm. "I have seen those stations. They are not kind to orphans, especially alien orphans." "Then file for emergency guardianship. Do it legally. If you get caught keeping her without documentation, they will take her anyway, and they might arrest you too." Sighed. He knew she was right, was always right. That was the annoying thing about having a scientist for a sister. She dealt in facts, and the facts were clear. He was breaking the law. "I filed the application 2 months ago," he admitted. "It is stuck in the system. Nobody wants to process a guardianship request from a single human male for a cub. The bureaucracy does not know what to do with us." His expression softened slightly. "How is she doing?" Glanced toward the corridor that led to Lyra's room. "She does not speak. She barely eats. She has nightmares every night, but she is alive, and she is starting to come out of her room more often. That is progress, I think." "You think?" "I do not know what I am doing. I never planned to be a parent. I just could not leave her there." There was silence on the other end of the call, then sighed. "You always were the soft one in the family. Father used to say you felt too much." "Father said a lot of things. He was not always wrong." After the call ended, finished cooking. He put the food on 2 plates and carried them to the common area. It was the only space on that felt like a real room. A small table, 2 chairs, a window that looked out at the stars. He had added a 3rd chair recently, a smaller one, just in case. He sat down and started eating. 15 minutes later, Lyra appeared in the doorway. She did not announce herself. She never did. She just appeared, silent as a shadow, watching him with those huge amber eyes. Her blanket was wrapped around her shoulders like a cloak. Her fur was cleaner now. He had shown her how to use the ship's washing unit, and she had started grooming herself again. That was another form of progress. Were proud creatures. They took care of their appearance. The fact that she was doing it again meant something inside her was healing. Did not look at her directly. He had learned that direct eye contact made her nervous. Instead, he kept eating and spoke casually. "There is food for you on the counter. It is still warm." Lyra did not move at first. Then slowly she walked to the counter and picked up the plate. She did not sit at the table. She sat on the floor in the corner, her back against the wall, eating with her fingers. Did not use utensils. They found them strange and unnecessary. They ate in silence, but it was a comfortable silence now, different from the early days when every moment felt heavy with fear and uncertainty. This silence had rhythm, routine. It was the silence of 2 creatures learning to share space. When Lyra finished eating, she did not leave. She stayed in her corner, watching wash the dishes. He talked to her while he worked. He had started doing this weeks ago, just talking about nothing, about everything, the stars they were passing, the next delivery mission, the strange noise the engine made when they jumped to faster-than-light speed. He did not expect responses. He just wanted her to hear a voice that was not shouting, not threatening, just existing. "We are going to a refugee camp tomorrow," he said. "On a planet called Myra 6. I have medical supplies to deliver. You can stay on the ship if you want, or you can come with me. Your choice." Lyra's ears moved forward, curiosity. "There will be other children there," continued. Some are human, some are other species. They have all lost things, homes, families. They might understand you better than I do." He finished the dishes and dried his hands. When he turned around, Lyra was standing right behind him, silent as always. He had not heard her move. She held out her empty plate. Took it, thank you. She stared at him for a long moment. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. And then, for the first time in 3 months, she spoke. Why? Her voice was rough, unused, like a door that had been closed for too long, but the word was clear. Knelt down so they were at the same level. Why what? Why did you keep me? It was such a simple question, and such a complicated one. Thought about it. He could give her the easy answer, because it was the right thing to do, because nobody else would, because he happened to be there, but none of those felt true, not completely. Because when I found you, he said slowly, you were still holding that blanket. Even when everything around you was fire and death, you were holding onto something you loved. That told me you were worth saving. That told me you had a heart that knew how to care. And anything that knows how to care deserves someone who will care for it back. Lyra stared at him. Her eyes were wet, but she did not cry. Cubs learn not to cry. Crying attracted predators on there. Crying meant death. She turned and walked back to her room, but at the doorway she stopped. Thank you, she whispered, for the food. Then she was gone. Stayed kneeling on the floor for a long time. His chest felt tight. His eyes burned. 3 months of silence, and those were her first words. A question about why she was worth saving. A thank you for a simple meal. She was not healed, not even close, but she had spoken. She had trusted him enough to use her voice. It was a start. That night he filed another request to speed up the guardianship application. He wrote a long message explaining the situation, the cub's trauma, her progress, her need for stability. The system sent back an automated response. Your request is being processed. Please wait. Did not wait. He sent another message, and another. He would not stop until someone listened. Lyra was not just a case number. She was his responsibility now. And he would fight for her. The government ship arrived without warning. Was in the cargo bay, sorting medical supplies for their next delivery, whence calm voice filled the room. Captain, a vessel from the Child Welfare Bureau is requesting permission to dock. They have official authorization codes. His stomach dropped. He had known this day would come. He had hoped it would come later, after the guardianship was approved, after he had time to prepare. But the universe did not care about his hopes. Grant permission, he said quietly, and let Lyra know we have visitors. Tell her she can stay in her room if she wants. Understood, Captain. The government ship was sleek and white, clean, official. It looked like the kind of ship that brought bad news. 3 people stepped out when the airlock opened. The first was a human woman in a gray uniform. Her face was stern, her eyes were cold. She carried a data pad like a weapon. The second and third were enforcement officers. Large, silent. They stood behind her like shadows. Lieutenant Park, the woman said. It was not really a question. That is me. I am Director Miso of the Child Welfare Bureau. She did not offer her hand. She did not smile. We are here regarding case number VL7892, the minor currently in your possession. Possession, the word made his jaw tighten. Lyra was not a thing to be possessed. She was a child. She is in my care, he corrected carefully, not my possession. Director's expression did not change. Your guardianship application is still pending review. Until it is approved, the child is technically a ward of the Alliance. You are harboring her without legal authority. That is a serious violation, Lieutenant. I filed the application 5 months ago. The system has not processed it. The system processes thousands of applications. These things take time. She does not have time. Kept his voice steady, but anger was building in his chest. She was alone on a destroyed colony ship. Everyone she knew was dead. I found her and I kept her safe. What was I supposed to do? Send her to a processing station and hope for the best? That is exactly what you were supposed to do. Before could respond, another figure appeared at the airlock. A male, older. His golden fur was streaked with gray and his movements were slow and dignified. He wore simple robes, not the sharp uniform of the others. His presence felt different, calmer. "Director," they said, "perhaps we should conduct our inspection before making accusations. The law requires us to evaluate the child's, not to assume the worst." Director's lips pressed into a thin line. "This is," she said too, "he is our cultural liaison. He will be assessing whether the child's cultural needs are being met." Inclined his head politely. "Lieutenant Park, may we see the child?" Wanted to say no. He wanted to throw them all off his ship and fly away to some distant corner of the galaxy where no one would find them. But he knew that would only make things worse. "She is in her room," he said. "She is shy around strangers. Please do not frighten her." They walked through the ship. Director examined everything. The medical bay, the kitchen, the common area. She made notes on her data pad. Her face revealed nothing but could tell she was looking for problems, looking for reasons to take Lyra away. When they reached Lyra's room, the door was closed. "Lyra," called softly, "there are some people here who want to meet you. You do not have to come out if you do not want to, but they need to see that you are okay." Silence. Director's eyebrows rose. "The child does not respond to you. She is traumatized. She barely speaks to anyone. Perhaps she does not feel safe here." Bit back a sharp reply. He took a deep breath. Then the door slid open. Lyra stood in the doorway. Her blanket was wrapped around her shoulders. Her ears were flat against her head. Fear, but she was standing. She was facing them. That took courage. Director stepped forward. "Hello, child. I am Director. I am here to make sure you are being treated properly. Can you tell me, are you happy here?" Lyra did not answer. Her eyes darted to, then back to the Director. She took a step backward. "She is clearly distressed," Director said. "She cannot even form a response. This environment may not be suitable for her recovery." "She is distressed because you are a stranger asking difficult questions," said. His patience was running out. "She needs time and gentleness, not interrogation. What she needs is professional care, trained specialists who understand psychology." Stepped forward. He knelt down slowly, making himself smaller, less threatening. He spoke in a soft voice using the language, musical sounds that did not understand. But he saw Lyra's ears move forward slightly. She was listening. They spoke for several minutes. Lyra's responses were quiet, hesitant, but she was responding. That was more than she had ever done with strangers before. Finally stood up. His expression was thoughtful. "What did she say?" Director demanded. "She said the human is kind. He feeds her well. He does not shout. He does not force her to speak. He lets her be sad when she needs to be sad." Paused. "She said he gave her the small room so she would have a safe place. She has never had a safe place before." Director frowned. "That is not enough to justify." "She also said," continued, "that when she has nightmares she goes to the cockpit. The human is always there. He talks to her about the stars until she feels better. He does not touch her unless she asks. He respects her space." There was silence. Turn 2. "You have been patient with her. That is rare. Most beings lose patience with silent children. They see them as broken. You see her as healing." "She is not broken," said quietly. "She is just hurt. There is a difference." Nodded slowly. "Yes, there is." Director looked frustrated. "Liaison, we cannot simply ignore protocol because the child has bonded with this human. The regulations are clear." "The regulations are guidelines," replied calmly. "And in my culture, when a cub chooses a guardian, it is sacred. The bond is recognized above paperwork and bureaucracy. This child has chosen. I saw it in her eyes. To break that bond now would cause more harm than any processing station could heal. This is not space." "No, but she is still. And I will testify on the human's behalf when the council makes its final decision." Director stared at him, then at then at Lyra, who had crept forward and was now standing very close to Sleg, almost touching him, almost seeking protection. "Fine," the director said coldly. "We will return when the council issues its ruling. But until then, Lieutenant, do not leave this sector. If you run, we will find you, and the consequences will be severe." She turned and walked back toward the airlock. The enforcement officers followed. Lingered for a moment. He looked at Lyra, then at. "You are a strange human," he said. "Most of your kind would not carry this burden willingly." "She is not a burden." Whiskers twitched, a smile. "No, I suppose she is not. Take care of her, Lieutenant. The council will decide soon. Be ready for whatever comes." Then he was gone. Stood in the corridor for a long time after the government ship departed. His hands were shaking. He had not realized how scared he had been until it was over. A small paw touched his hand. He looked down. Lyra was staring up at him. Her ears were still flat, but her eyes were different now. Not empty, not distant. There was something there, something like hope. "They want to take me away," she whispered. "I know. Will you let them?" Knelt down, he looked her in the eyes. "I will fight as hard as I can to keep you here, but I cannot promise anything. The decision is not mine to make." Lyra's lower lip trembled. "Nobody ever fought for me before." "Then it is time someone started." She did not hug him. Cubs did not hug, but she pressed her forehead against his shoulder and stayed there for a long time. It was the closest thing to trust she had ever shown. And held still, letting her take whatever comfort she needed. The battle was not over, but at least now she knew she was not fighting alone. The weeks after Director's visit were the hardest. Every morning checked his messages, hopping for news about the guardianship decision. Every morning the inbox was empty. The silence from the council was worse than rejection. At least rejection would be an answer. This was just waiting. Endless, painful waiting. He tried to keep life on the normal. He took relief missions, delivered supplies, helped where he could. And Lyra came with him now, not hiding on the ship, not staying in her room. She walked beside him through refugee camps and distribution centers, watching everything with her huge amber eyes. The camps were filled with broken people, humans who had lost their homes to war, who had fled from raiders. Dozens of other species all crowded together in temporary shelters, waiting for a future that might never come. It was sad. It was overwhelming, but it was also strangely helpful for Lyra. She saw that she was not alone. At a camp on the planet 3, a group of children were playing a simple game with stones, throwing them at targets, laughing when they missed, cheering when they hit. Most of the children were human, but there were two cubs among them, a boy and a girl, both younger than Lyra. Was unloading crates of food when he noticed Lyra watching the game. She stood apart from the group, half hidden behind a supply container, her tail wrapped tight around her legs. She wanted to join. He could see it in the way her ears pointed toward the laughter, but she was afraid. One of the human children noticed her, a boy with messy brown hair and a gap-toothed smile. He waved. "Hey, do you want to play?" Lyra froze, her ears flattened. The boy did not seem bothered by her silence. He picked up an extra stone and walked over to her. "It is easy, you just throw like this." He demonstrated, tossing the stone at a painted circle on the ground. It landed close to the center. "See, your turn." He held out the stone. Lyra looked at it, then he gave her a small nod. "Go ahead, it is okay." She took the stone. Her throw was awkward, unpracticed. The stone landed far from the target. The boy laughed, but it was not mean laughter. It was friendly. "That is okay. I was bad at first too. Try again." She did, and again, and again. By the 5th throw, she was hitting the outer ring of the target. By the 10th, she was smiling. Watched from a distance, his chest tight with emotion. This was the first time he had seen her smile since the night he found her. It was small, brief, but it was real. That night on the ship, Lyra sat in the common area instead of hiding in her room. She was quiet, as always, but there was something different about her silence. It was not heavy anymore. It was just peaceful. "Did you have fun today?" asked. She nodded. "The boy who taught you the game, what was his name?" She said quietly, "He is an orphan too. His parents died in a fire last year. He lives at the camp now." Was surprised, not by the sad story. Those were common in refugee camps, but by how much Lyra had talked to the boy, how much she had learned. "He sounds nice," said. "He told me something." Lyra's voice was barely above a whisper. "He said that being an orphan does not mean you are alone. It just means your family has not found you yet." The words hit like a physical blow. He had to look away for a moment, had to blink hard to keep his eyes dry. "That is a wise thing to say," he managed. Lyra was quiet for a long time. Then she asked, "Do you think my family will find me?" Turned back to her. She was staring at him with those huge amber eyes, waiting, hopping. "I think," he said slowly, "that sometimes we have to find our own family, and sometimes family finds us when we are not expecting it." She did not respond, but she stayed in the common area until she fell asleep on the small chair he had bought for her. And when carried her to her room, she did not wake up. She just curled into a ball, still holding her old blanket, and dreamed quiet dreams. But the peace did not last. The nightmares came back 3 days later, worse than before. Woke to the sound of screaming, high-pitched, terrified. He ran to Lyra's room and found her thrashing on the mattress, claws tearing at the blankets, eyes wide open but seeing nothing. "Lyra, Lyra, wake up." He did not touch her. He had learned not to. Touching her during nightmares made things worse. Instead, he knelt beside her and spoke softly, over and over, until her eyes focused and her breathing slowed. "You are safe. You are with me. You are safe." She stopped thrashing. Her claws retracted. She looked at him with wild, scared eyes. "Fire," she whispered. "I was back in the fire. Everyone was screaming. I could not find anyone. I was alone." "It was a dream, just a dream. The fire is gone. You are here now." She sat up slowly. Her fur was damp with sweat. Her whole body was trembling. "I keep going back," she said. "Every night, I keep going back to that place. Why will it not leave me alone?" Did not have a good answer. Trauma did not work that way. It did not disappear because you wanted it to. It stayed. It haunted. It waited in the dark corners of your mind and attacked when you were most vulnerable. "I do not know," he admitted, "but I know it will get better, slowly, over time. The dreams will become less frequent, less real, and one day you will be able to remember without hurting." "How do you know?" "Because I have seen it happen. I have met people who have been through terrible things, and they healed, not all at once, not completely, but enough to live again, enough to find happiness again." Lyra pulled her blanket up to her chin. "What if I cannot heal?" "Then I will be here anyway, and we will figure it out together." She stared at him for a long moment. Then, in a voice so small he almost missed it, she asked the question that had been waiting inside her all along. "What if the council says no? What if they take me to a facility? What if I never see you again?" His heart broke. "Lyra, what if I am not enough?" Her voice cracked. Tears were forming in her eyes, did not cry, but she was crying now. "I do not speak well. I do not play well. I have nightmares and I hide and I am scared all the time. What if the council looks at me and sees that I am not worth the trouble? What if they are right?" She was sobbing now. Ugly, broken sobs that shook her entire body. Years of fear and pain and loneliness were pouring out of her, and did not know what to say. There were no words for this. No promises he could make that would fix the hurt inside her. So he said the only thing that was true. "Lyra." He waited until she looked at him. Her eyes were red, her face was wet. She looked so small, so fragile. "You are not a burden, you are not trouble, you are not a problem to be solved." "Then what am I?" He took a breath. You are already my family. The words hung in the air between them. Simple, clear, true. Lyra stared at him. Her crying slowed, stopped. She wiped her face with the back of her paw. Really? Really, family is not about blood or species or what some council decides. Family is about who shows up, who stays, who cares enough to be there in the dark when the nightmares come. He paused. I am here, Lyra. I will keep being here, no matter what the council says. She moved forward slowly, pressed her forehead against his chest, the gesture of complete trust, complete acceptance. He wrapped his arms around her gently and held her while she cried. They stayed like that for a long time. And somewhere in the silence, Lyra stopped being an orphan. She became his daughter. The message arrived on a Tuesday. Was in the cockpit running system checks when his voice filled the room. Captain, priority communication from the Alliance Council. They are requesting a real-time connection. His hands froze on the console. This was it. The moment he had been waiting for. The moment he had been dreading. 6 months of applications and interviews and waiting, and now it was finally here. Accept the connection, he said. The screen flickered. Director's face appeared first, stern as ever. But she was not alone. Behind her, visible through holographic projection, sat 3 judges, 2 humans and 1. Their faces were neutral, professional, impossible to read. Lieutenant Park, the lead judge said. She was an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes. Her name appeared at the bottom of the screen. This hearing will determine the guardianship status of the minor known as Lyra. Please confirm that the child is present. She is in her room, said. I can bring her. Please do. This decision involves her. She should be present to hear it. Walked to Lyra's room. She was sitting on her mattress, staring at the wall. She already knew something important was happening. She could feel it in the tension on the ship. They want to see you, said gently. The council is ready to decide. Fear flashed across her face, then something else, determination. She stood up, grabbed her blanket, and walked past him toward the cockpit. They faced the screen together. Lyra's small paw found his hand. She held on tight. Judge studied them for a moment. Then she began reading from a document. We have reviewed all evidence submitted in this case. The rescue report from Lieutenant Park. The medical records showing the child's recovery. Testimonies from relief workers who witnessed the child in the lieutenant's care. And the cultural assessment provided by liaison of the diplomatic corps. She paused, looked at director. We have also reviewed the Bureau's concerns regarding proper protocol and the lieutenant's lack of formal training in xenobiology and child development. His heart was pounding. He could feel Lyra trembling beside him. However, Judge continued, we have also considered the child's own statements, her clear attachment to Lieutenant Park, her improvement since being placed in his care, and the expert opinion of liaison who has stated that in culture, the bond between guardian and cub is sacred and should not be broken without extreme cause. His face appeared on a smaller screen. He inclined his head respectfully. The child has chosen, he said. I have witnessed it myself. She trusts this human. She feels safe with him. To remove her now would cause profound psychological harm. Director spoke up. With respect, cultural traditions cannot override alliance regulations. The lieutenant is a single, untrained individual with a dangerous occupation. The child would be better served in a proper facility with qualified caregivers. The child, Judge said quietly, has a voice of her own. She turned to look directly at Lyra through the screen. Young one, do you understand what is happening here today? Lyra nodded slowly. We are deciding whether you will stay with Lieutenant Park or be placed in an Alliance care facility. This is an important decision, and we want to hear from you. Do you wish to remain with this human as your guardian? Lyra was silent for a long moment, could feel her paw shaking in his hand. He wanted to speak for her, to defend her, but this was her moment, her choice. She took a deep breath, and then she spoke. When the bad people came to my ship, everyone ran away from me. The adults, the other children, everyone, they were trying to save themselves. Nobody looked for me. Nobody came back. Her voice was steady, stronger than had ever heard it. I hid in the cargo bay. I could hear screaming. I could smell fire. I thought I was going to die alone, and then he came. She looked up at. Her amber eyes were bright with tears she refused to let fall. He found me when no one else was looking. He carried me out of the fire. He gave me food when I could not ask for it. He gave me a room when I did not deserve one. He talked to me even when I could not talk back. She turned back to the screen, to the judges, to director, to everyone who would decide her fate. He never asked me to be different. He never got angry when I had nightmares. He never made me feel like a burden. He just stayed. Every single day, he stayed. Her voice cracked, but she kept going. I know I am small. I know I am damaged. I know I am not the kind of child that anyone would choose, but he chose me anyway. He said I was already his family, and I believe him. She lifted her chin, proud, defiant. I want to stay. Please let me stay. Silence. Judge's expression had changed. There was moisture in her eyes. She was human enough to be moved by the words of a child who had lost everything and found hope in one ordinary man. She cleared her throat, looked at the other judges. They nodded. The council has reached a decision. Stopped breathing. Given the exceptional circumstances of this case, the demonstrated care and commitment of Lieutenant Park, the cultural endorsement from the diplomatic corps, and the clear wishes of the child herself, we hereby grant full guardianship of the minor Lyra to Lieutenant Park of the Terran Relief Corps. The words did not register at first. They were just sounds. Then their meaning broke through and exhaled so hard he almost collapsed. Director's face was tight with displeasure, but she said nothing. The ruling had been made. There was nothing more to argue. Judge smiled gently. Lieutenant Park, you are now the legal guardian of this child. Care for her well. I will, managed. Thank you, I will. The screen went dark. Silence filled the cockpit, stood frozen, still processing what had just happened. Months of fear and uncertainty, and it was over. She was staying. She was his. A small tug on his hand. He looked down. Lyra was staring up at him. Her ears were forward. Her eyes were wide. And for the first time since he had found her in that burning wreckage, she was smiling. A real smile, full and bright and beautiful. Does this mean I am stuck with you? She asked. Laughed. It was a broken, watery sound, half joy, half relief. Yeah, he said. That is exactly what it means. Lyra threw her arms around him. She had never hugged him before, did not hug, but she did now. She held on like she would never let go and held her back, and they stayed that way for a long, long time. 2 years later, they docked at Ganymede Station. The ship was older now, more dented, but still flying, still faithful. Park waited at the airlock, arms crossed. Beside her stood her partner, a quiet woman named O, holding a small gift bag. They had heard so much about Lyra, seen her in video calls, but this was the first time they would meet in person. The airlock opened. Stepped out first. He looked tired but happy. Behind him, holding his hand, was Lyra. She was taller now. Her silver-blue fur was sleek and healthy. Her amber eyes were bright with curiosity, not fear. She wore a small jacket with a patch on the sleeve. The words read, Junior Crew. Stared, then she smiled. A rare, genuine expression that had not seen in years. So this is her, said. Lyra stepped forward. Her ears were nervous but forward. She took a breath, and in careful Korean she had been practicing for months, she said, Hello, Aunt, my name is Lyra Park. It is nice to meet you. His tough exterior crumbled. She pulled Lyra into a hug, laughed and joined in. Watched them, his sister, his niece, his family. Years ago, he had been a simple relief officer with a simple life. Then he had heard a distress signal and followed it to a burning ship. He had found a scared child clutching an old blanket. He had made a choice. And that choice had changed everything. Lyra pulled back from the hug. She looked at with those bright amber eyes. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." He smiled. "You do not have to thank me." "I know, but I want to. You saved me when nobody else would. You stayed when nobody else would. You made me believe I was worth saving." She paused, then she spoke the words that mattered most. "You are my family, and I am so glad you found me." Pulled her into another hug. He did not trust his voice, so he just held her and let the silence speak. Family was not about blood. Family was not about species. Family was about who stayed in the dark, who answered when you whispered your fears, who said the words that changed everything. "You are already my family." And that was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.